All right. Maybe I'll get started with the introduction part. So as more folks join in, I think they will be like right on time to start Tarini's presentation. So hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know that we are all joining from a couple of different time zones. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or late evening to everyone who's here today. And first of all, I would like to thank everybody who was able to join us today. And we are really, really excited to present our introduction to blockchain for non-tech professionals talk. Um, our talk today is presented by Tharini. Tharini is our awesome track lead for our Women Who Code blockchain team, as well as she's a senior business development and marketing professional and an activist. We are really, really excited to have Tharini with us. This is her second talk with Women Who Code blockchain, and I'm sure it's going to be awesome. I'll hand it over to Tharini in just a bit so she can introduce a little bit more about herself. I just want to quickly run through for all of you who are new to Women Who Code. I just want to talk about our mission and vision. So at Women Who Code, our mission is we are dedicated to inspiring women to excel in technology careers, right? Um, and when I say technology careers, it doesn't mean that you have to be an engineer or you have to be a developer. Every industry today is run and supported by technology. So we want more and more women to come in and take up these kind of roles, which can, which are leadership roles, which are roles that help them show their visibility or help them move ahead in their careers, right? We are a global non-profit, and we have chapters all over the world, as well as online chapters like which are dedicated to technical tracks. Our vision, like I mentioned, is a world where women are proportionally represented as technical leaders, executives, founders, VCs, board members, and software engineers. Having said that, I want to say that Women of Code is an inclusive community. All of our events are always open to everyone who supports our mission and vision. So, and we would request our community as well to have an open mindset. When you come, you interact with others who are also a part of the community. If at any point in time you feel like there is any violation to the code of conduct, here is the code of conduct. I don't want to read it through, but if at any point in time you feel like there is something that's not going right or there is any violation of the code of conduct, please feel free to reach out to any of us. Either track fellows, we have Sapphire, we have me, we have Tarini, who are representing Women Code blockchain today. But you can alternatively also go to womencode.com/code of conduct and fill up the incident report form. As I mentioned, Women Who Code has 6 technical track communities, which are deep technical learning communities where we help you understand more about a particular technology. What are the different facets of the technology? What are the different career opportunities that are available in this technology, to which Tarini will be speaking shortly, as well as what are the different opportunities that are available in this in a particular technology. And our today's event is brought to you by Women Who Code Blockchain. Why should you join the blockchain track? I'm not going to take much time over here, but we do a lot of events throughout the year, which are international events. We have speakers all across the globe coming and sharing their point of view on why should one be working in this technology, what is their experience, their journey in this technology, as well as share some technical knowledge with us. So it would be great if you could join the community by going to womenucode.com/blockchain, and you can register, create your profile, and be a part of the community. You can shout us out on Twitter at WWCodeBlock, or you can join us on Instagram at WWCodeBlockchain. We also have a Slack group where we interact with each other very frequently. We interact with all the community members. You can join our Slack by going to bit.ly/womenucodeblockchain. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our amazing sponsors, Stellar and Hired, for supporting the community as well as helping women learn about blockchain across the globe, helping folks upskill themselves in this field, which is definitely going to be picking up really soon. So that's about it. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to let Tarini kind of take take it away.
Thank you so much, Gyan. That was a really, really wonderful introduction to Womanhood Code. And I would really add on to it. Please, 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 please become a member. I know it says Women Who Code blockchain, but men are very much welcome too. We do have male track leads in our community. So we are very inclusive with respect to that. And some of the benefits of becoming a member is like you're one of the first few people to know about upcoming events and conferences, and you get opportunities to get free tickets to attend some of our paid conferences. A lot of these are happening online right now. But yeah, you get opportunities to participate and build up your profile, and like I am doing right now. And they have an amazing job board. And as a member, I can attest to it. And membership is free of charge. So I would really, really encourage everyone to please join our community and be a part of it. Without further ado, I'll jump right in. I'm just about to share my screen. Bear with me for a second. Here we are. And fantastic. I hope everyone can see this well. Not any problems. Excellent. Well, I won't go through the intro of Womanhood Code again. I'll straight away go about introducing myself. As Gyan mentioned, I have over 15 years of experience as a senior business development and marketing professional. And I've worked across various industries, media, technology, healthcare, creative agencies, and startups, to just name a few. And I've worked in several countries as well, Singapore being my home country. That's where I was born and brought up. And I live in Australia, Melbourne, Australia right now. So I've worked in Australia, the United States, and Europe. And as Gyan mentioned, I'm also an activist. I am very, very passionate about encouraging women to participate in technology.
So without further ado,
I'm just going to pause right there.
Right.
So I'm passionate about getting more women involved in tech and also in politics. Yeah, and last but not least, I'm also a lead at Womanhood Code Blockchain. Without further ado, I'm gonna dive right into what blockchain is and how it works. And that will be about 20 minutes of the presentation. And after about 20 minutes or so of my explainer, we will jump right into the job opportunities and how you can actually build a career path in blockchain, even if you don't know how to program or code, which is the main topic of today's presentation. So let's jump right ahead.
Right, so without further ado, let's dive right in. So why blockchain? Why now? Believe it or not, blockchain technology is still early in the adoption curve. Starting to learn today is like starting to learn web development in the late 90s. According to the State of the Enterprise Blockchain Study, it indicates blockchain adoption is gathering momentum, with participants indicating a 62% increase in blockchain investment this year. And so blockchain expects to be mainstream technology by 2025. So the key takeaways are this: blockchain technology has far-reaching implications across many industries. It is already being used to facilitate identity management, smart contract, supply chain analysis, and much, much more, as we will touch on various parts of the presentation today. And finally, the full potential of blockchain technology likely remains to be discovered. What all this means is this is the perfect time and opportunity to get started. And congratulations, you've taken your first step. And with that overview, let me now explain to you what blockchain is and how it works. First and foremost, let's start with a scenario. Let's suppose Joe is your best friend. He's traveling overseas, let's say Bali, Indonesia. After days or weeks of heavy partying and really enjoying Bali life, he runs out of money. So he decides to renew his best friend for help. You then tell them, not a problem, I'll send you some money right away. You then now call the account manager at your bank and tell them, could you please transfer about precisely exactly $1,000 from my account to Joe's account? And your account manager says, yes, sir. He then opens a register, checks your account balance to see if first and foremost, you even have enough money to transfer to your friend. Now, because you are a very wealthy person, you have plenty. So he enacts the transaction, and he does so by making an entry in the register, as shown in the image. So what happens next? You call Joe and tell him, look, dude, I've transferred the money. Next time you go to your bank, you can withdraw the $1,000. Fantastic. But let's take a step back. What just happened? You and Joe both trusted the bank to manage your money. There was no real movement of physical bills to transfer the money. All that was needed was a mere entry in the register. Or more accurately, an entry in the register that neither you nor Joe controls or owns. And that is pretty much the problem of the current system. For many years now, we have been depending on these middlemen or banks to trust each other to make sure that all transactions are recorded accurately at all times. So you might ask, well, what is the problem then? Why can't we just continue depending on them? The problem is that these middlemen, or so-called banks, are centralized. What that means is if chaos has to be injected in society, all it requires is one person or an organization to go corrupt, intentionally or unintentionally. And as you know, we do not have control over our accounts. The banks control them. So we aren't actually able to predict every single transaction that a bank does. We're able to see just a small aspect of it. So pretty much for years, we have been putting all our eggs in one basket, and that too in someone else's. Could there be a system where we can still transfer money without needing a third party, like a bank? To answer this question, we'll need to drill down further and ask ourselves a better question. After all, better questions lead to better answers. So let's think about it for a second. What does transferring money actually mean? It is merely an entry in the register. So therefore, the better question to ask would then be, is there a way to maintain the register amongst ourselves instead of someone else doing it for us? The answer to the question is blockchain. Under blockchain, this new system, instead of being centralized, it is now decentralized. Blockchain is pretty much a method to maintain the register amongst ourselves instead of depending on someone else to do it for us and charging us bank fees and etc. All the members individually note and document transactions, and verified transactions are documented in an open ledger. So everyone can now review all transactions. There are many ways to understand this new decentralized system that blockchain technology enables. One of those examples would be supply chain provenance in the diamond industry. Starting about 2 decades ago, the diamond industry has had a serious political top-down commitment to prevent blood diamonds from entering circulation. As defined by the United Nations, blood diamond or diamonds are any diamond that is mined in areas controlled by forces opposed to the legitimate internationally recognized government of a country and that is sold to fund military action against that government. Basically, blood diamonds, not legal. So, these are diamonds that had unclear provenance, and the whole goal was to enable somebody buying a diamond at the retail channel to know all the way back to the mine that it came between point A and B, and that it was in good hands. Right now, when you buy a diamond and see that provenance, you might get a certificate with a bunch of stamps on it. But what does that actually mean to you? The diamond industry has realized that it needs to transform that process into something that is sort of an implementation of a distributed ledger as a way to allow all parties involved in the diamond process to record a transaction every time they transfer diamonds from the mine to the refinery to the place where it's been refined and then onto the distributor and then the retail channel. So each of those parties would be a participant on that ledger, and so as and when they receive or send a package of shipments or the shipment of diamonds, they would confirm and write a transaction saying, I received or sent this shipment with the date, time, etc., so that we have this unbreakable chain going all the way back to the mine where these diamonds actually came from. So now with each of these parties then having their own unique digital signatures, which would be very difficult if not impossible to forge, then they could participate and be a part of the process. So eventually we will have a system like when you purchase a car and record that in the title system, and so if someone steals it and then tries to sell it to someone else, it would be traceable via the title system to show that, hey, you are the real owner of the car, and therefore that illegal transaction cannot go ahead. We will probably get to the point where your ability to sell a diamond at a certain price or quality, etc., will now be based on being able to show that your ownership is recorded in this ledger, which would do a tremendous amount to try and keep that product from entering circulation. The diamond industry has traditionally used paper certificates, such as the Kimberley certificate, as authentication for diamonds, but it wasn't uncommon for certificates to be forged. Everledger is combining a unique identification process that records over 40 features, including color, clarity, and cut of each diamond, to give the stone a unique identity. This ID is then recorded using the blockchain system, creating the stone's digital certificate. As the certificate is based on blockchain, it cannot be altered or falsified, and the digital certificate is permanently stored for future reference. Since 2015, Everledger have created IDs for over 1 million diamonds. The end consumer can use various details to look up a diamond and hence trace the origin. So now that we have explored merely one use case of blockchain, let's now continue on to try and understand blockchain better and figure out how it works. The requirement of the blockchain method, if you will, is that there must be enough people who would like to not depend on a third party. Okay? So only then can this group maintain the register on their own. And at minimum, at least 3 people are required for this system of trust to work. For our example, we will assume 10 individuals want to give up on banks or any third party for that matter. Upon mutual agreement, they have details of each other's accounts all the time, but without knowing the other person's identity. Next, everyone in the network sits with a blank page and a pen in their hands. Everyone is ready to write any transaction that occurs within the system. Now, if person number two wants to send, say, $10 to person number 9. To make that transaction, person number 2 shouts and tells everyone, I want to transfer $10 to person number 9. So everyone, please make a note of it on your pages. The transaction is then considered to be complete. As time passes, more people in the network feel the need to transfer money to others. Whenever they want to make a transaction, they announce it to everyone else. As soon as a person listens to the announcement, he or she writes it on his or her page. This exercise continues until everyone runs out of space on the current page. Assuming a page has space to record just 10 transactions, as soon as the 10th transaction is made, everyone runs out of space. It's now time to put the page away in the folder and bring out a new page and repeat the process from the step before. Before we put away the page in our folders, however, we need to seal it with a unique key that everyone in the network agrees upon. By sealing it, we will make sure that no one can make any changes to it once its copies have been put away in everyone's folder. Not today, not tomorrow, and not even after a year. Once in the folder, it will always stay in the folder, sealed. Moreover, if everyone trusts the seal, everyone trusts the contents of the page. And this sealing of the page is the crux of this method, also known as mining on the page. Now, the sealing method that I spoke about is actually called mining, as I said earlier, but for the simplicity of it, we'll just continue to keep calling it sealing. Earlier, the third party or the middleman gave us the trust that whatever they have written in the register will never be altered. In a distributed and decentralized system like ours, the seal will provide the trust instead. Interesting. So how exactly is a page sealed? Before we learn how we can seal the page, we'll know how the seal works in general. And as a prerequisite to it is learning about something that I like to call the magic machine. Or the proper terminology would be hash functions, but let's just call it magic machine for now. So imagine a machine surrounded by thick walls. If you send a box with something inside it from the left, it would spit out a box containing something else on the right. Now, suppose you send the number 4 inside it from the left. We find that it spat out the following word on its right, DCBEA. How did it convert the number 4 to this word? No one really knows. Moreover, it is an irreversible process. Given the word DCBEA, it is impossible to tell what the machine was fed on the left. But every time you feed the number 4 to the machine, it will always spit out the same word, DCBEA. Now, let's try sending in a different number. How about 26? We got 94 CAE this time. Interesting. So the words can contain numbers too. What if I ask you the following question now? Can you tell me what should I send from the left side of the machine? Or rather, what should my input be such that I get a word that starts with 3 leading zeros from the right side of it. For example, 000AB or 00098, etc. Think about the question for a moment. I've told you the machine has a property that we cannot calculate what we must send from the left after we are given the expected output on the right. With such a machine given to us, how can we answer the question I just asked? Which is, if I want an output with 3 leading zeros, what should my input be? I can think of one method. Why not try every number in the universe, one by one, until we get a word that starts with 3 leading zeros? It was extremely difficult to calculate the input given the output, but at the same time, it will always be incredibly easy to verify if the predicted input yields the required output. Remember, the machine spits out the same word for a number every time. How difficult do you think the answer is if I gave you a number, say, 72533, and ask you the question, does this number, when fed into the machine, yield a word that starts with 3 leading zeros? All you need to do is throw the number in the machine and see what you got on the right side of it. That's it. I guess in the end, the most important property of this machine is such that given an output, it is extremely difficult to calculate the input. But given the input and the output, it is pretty easy to verify if the input leads to the output. We'll remember this property of the magic machine, or rather the hash function, for now through the rest of the presentation. We'll use this magic machine to generate a seal for our page. Like always, we'll start with an imaginary situation. Imagine I give you 2 boxes. The first box contains the number 20893. I then ask you, can you figure out a number that when added to the number in the first box and fed to the machine will give us a word that starts with 3 leading zeros? This is a similar situation as we saw previously, and we have learned that the only way to calculate such a number is by trying every number available in the entire universe. Let's suppose after several thousand attempts, we'll stumble upon a number, say 21191, which, when added to 20893 and fed to the machine, will yield a word that satisfies our requirements. In such a case, this number 21191 becomes the seal for the number 20893. Assume there is a page that bears the number 20893 written on it. To seal that page, we will put a badge labeled 21191 on top of it. As soon as the sealing number is stuck on the page is now sealed. If anyone wants to verify whether the page was altered, all he or she would have to do is add the contents of the page with the sealing number and feed it to the magic machine. If the magic machine gives out a word with 3 leading zeros, the contents were untouched. If the word that comes out doesn't meet our requirements, we can throw away the page because its contents were compromised and are of no use. We'll use similar sealing mechanism to seal all our pages and eventually arrange them in our respective folders. To seal our page that contains the transactions of the network, we'll need to figure out a number that, when appended to the list of transactions and fed to the machine, we get a word that starts with 3 leading zeros on the right. Once that number is calculated after spending time and electricity on the machine, the page is sealed with that number. And if ever someone tries to change the contents of the page, the ceiling number will allow anyone to verify the integrity of that page. Now that we know about sealing the page, we will go back to the time when we had finished writing the 10th transaction on the page, and we ran out of space to write more. As soon as everyone runs out of the page to write further transactions, they indulge in calculating the ceiling number for the page so that it can be tucked away in a folder. Everyone in the network does the calculation. The first one in the network to figure out the ceiling number announces it to everyone else. Immediately on hearing the ceiling number, everyone verifies and sees if it yields the required output or not. If it does, everyone labels their pages with this number and puts it away in their folders. But what if for some reason, say person number 7, the ceiling number that was announced doesn't yield the required output? Such cases are not unusual. The possible reasons for this could be that person number 7 might have misheard or miswritten the transactions as they were announced in the network, or he might have tried to cheat or be dishonest when writing transactions, either to favor himself or someone else in the network. No matter what the reason is, the person number 7 has only one choice. He has to discard his page and copy it from someone else so that he too can put it in the folder. Unless he doesn't put this page in the folder, he cannot continue writing further transactions, therefore forbidding him to be part of the network. Remember this, whatever ceiling number the majority agrees upon becomes the honest ceiling number. Why does everyone spend resources doing the calculation when they know that someone else will calculate and announce it to them? Why not just sit back and be idle? So this is where incentives come into the picture. Everyone who is a part of the blockchain is eligible for rewards. And the first one to calculate the ceiling number gets rewarded with free money for his or her efforts. This reward system is exactly how Bitcoin got into existence. Just imagine, if person number 5 calculates the ceiling number of a page, he gets rewarded with some free money. Let's say $1 that gets minted out of thin air. In other words, the account balance of number 5 gets incremented with $1 without decreasing anyone else's account balance. That's how Bitcoin came into existence. It was the first currency to be transacted on a blockchain, i.e. distributed registers, and in return to keep the efforts going through the network, people were awarded Bitcoins. When enough people possess Bitcoins, they grow in value, making other people wanting Bitcoins, making Bitcoins grow in value even further, making even more people wanting Bitcoins, making them grow in value even further, and so on and so on and so on. And once everyone tucks away the page in their folder, they bring out a new blank page and repeat the whole process all over again. So now basically think of a single page as a block of transactions and the folder as a chain of pages or blocks, therefore turning it into a blockchain. And that, everyone, is how blockchain works. Another use case for blockchain technology is smart contracts. You may or may not have heard of it. So just to give you guys a break from hearing my voice, here is a very short video quickly explaining to you what a smart contract is.
What are smart contracts? Essentially, a smart contract is a value flow based on certain terms and conditions. Normally, the purpose of a smart contract is to automate and decentralize a centralized process or service and increase transparency. This subsequently reduces the need for trust and saves costs due to increased economic efficiency. Here is an example where a smart contract could replace the current status quo. Jennifer wants to buy a house from Peter. In order to do that, she has to validate and fill out a lot of paperwork, go to the lawyer and validate the undisputed ownership of the house, and review and fill out additional corresponding documents. Since Jennifer does not have enough capital of her own, she also needs a mortgage to finance the house. Therefore, she has to go to a bank, which requires additional paperwork and a comprehensive background check from the bank. These different steps can be streamlined and optimized with a smart contract. For example, if Jennifer's information is already available on a blockchain, she just needs to give access to the bank in order for them to perform the background check for the mortgage. And if Jennifer's home ownership is recorded on a smart contract, this documented proof is backed up on nodes across the world. This means it's almost impossible to lose track of or tamper with this information, and it will be easy for Jennifer and anyone she authorizes to gain access to it when the time comes.
There are many use cases for blockchain technology, and during this presentation, I've gone through just two of them. And so feel free to have a look at the diagram as illustrated, and I suppose feel free to do your own reading. But I have covered two of those examples in my presentation, one being the supply chain provenance in the diamond industry, and the other being smart contracts. And this is pretty much another slide giving you more information of all the other kind of use cases for blockchain technology. So you can pretty much see how pervasive it's going to be across all industries in the next decade. And just like that, I have pretty much come to the end of explaining to you what a blockchain is and how it works. And now we will do a recap. So in summary, according to Don and Alex Tapscott, who are the authors of Blockchain Revolution 2016, the blockchain is an incorruptible digital ledger of economic transactions that can be programmed to record not just financial transactions, but virtually everything of value. Now, this webinar was meant to be a rather introductory level sort of introduction to blockchain for those who have just started on this journey. So there's a lot of things that I haven't actually touched, like cryptocurrency, for instance. Oh my God, that in itself, it's a massive topic, right? Like everyone who has begun to learn about blockchain initially started to find out about blockchain actually via cryptocurrency, you know, like Bitcoins and stuff. But cryptocurrency, it's just one other application of blockchain technology. So there is another webinar, an introductory webinar coming up in 2 months' time. So please watch the space on the events website on womenwhocode.com. And yeah, there are a couple of things I did lightly touch. For example, what a distributed ledger is. I did lightly touch on that. Internet of Things is also quite interesting. You know, for example, if you had bought a car and you needed to do repayments on it, and you signed a contract with the car company, let's say a smart contract, that smart contract in blockchain technology could potentially interact with, say, a smart key, the key that you use to unlock your car. So as soon as you stop repaying, it would then detect that, hey, you have breached your contract. The smart contract would alert the system, and that would then mean that your car keys stop working. You're essentially locked out of your car. So that's like one interesting way blockchain and Internet of Things could potentially work together in the future. So use this list that I've got on the slide as sort of like a guide, if you will, to go and do more readings about it, then yeah, absolutely. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me or any other leads in Women Who Code Blockchain. With any questions you ask, we are always there to help you. But unfortunately, this is something that I do not have the time to cover during this webinar. The other thing I also did not have the time, unfortunately, to cover is things like 51% attack. You know, how could blockchain technology potentially fail? And the vulnerabilities and the criticisms. That is something that I would potentially do in another webinar. So again, watch your space, watch the event space on Women Who Code Blockchain.
And this then brings us to job opportunities and what the market potential is like within the blockchain technology for people, for non-tech professionals, people who can't really program or code. I'll start off with LinkedIn 2020 Emerging Jobs Report. It's a brilliant report that talks about just across the board, not specifically in relation to blockchain, but just across the board, what sort of jobs are pretty much trending or in demand. And as you can see, a lot of it is technical, but there are some non-technical options as well. And I'll focus on them in the next slide. As you can see, these are some of the jobs that I plucked out from LinkedIn Emerging Jobs Report, such as marketing automation specialists, customer success, growth managers, product owners, sales development representative, and of course, chief strategy officers, obviously a more C-level job opportunity. It's not meant to be an entry level. But you know, if you want to start off in any of these entry points within a blockchain company, these are great entry points. And just look at the salary between US and America. They're not that different. So you're not actually losing out if you really want to foot in the door in the blockchain industry and you have no technical skills, but you want to get started. Some of these roles are potentially easy roles to get into, like sales development representative. The entry requirements for this role is pretty low, I would personally say, having hired sales development representatives myself. Let's see. And this is something that I got off 101blockchains.com, and I absolutely love this wheel. I don't think it is very clear in this slide, but I'd encourage you to go to 101 Blockchain and have a look at it if you want to, you know, read this fine print in there. But basically, it talks about market demand for certain roles within blockchain technology, and yeah, marketing specialist is in there. So is sales development representative, and the market demand is rated as 9 out of 10. So absolutely, if you don't have technical skills, all these roles are things that you could potentially do to get a foot in the door. And now, maybe you love crypto, or you believe in decentralization, or maybe you even want to revolutionize the finance industry. Whatever brought you here, I can tell you there's one hell of a job market in the blockchain technology. There are, in fact, way more positions available that can be filled. And this industry, and this industry is desperate for qualified candidates. So I can't tell you exactly how to get hired for every single job, but I can sort of give you a guide, if you will, in terms of how to go about getting jobs in blockchain. Right. Let's start with step 1. We have 5 steps to go through. Very quickly, step 1. I think the first step is to first and foremost learn about blockchain, and congratulations, all of you have already started on that journey. And these are like basic no-brainers, obviously. Take out free blockchain introduction courses. There's so many out there, from Coursera to Udemy. Or if you're someone who doesn't want to take long courses, just watch YouTube videos. There's plenty of information out there, and keep learning till you grasp the fundamental concepts, because I'm not one of those people who can, learn something super fast. I need to like read it again and again, or watch a video again and again until it clicks. So keep persisting until you finally get it. If not, just talk to people, ask them to break it down for you and try to simplify things for you if you can't seem to understand just by watching videos. And of course, keep up to date with industry trends. That's so important, because if you want to meet people and get them to notice you and even hire you, it will be very helpful if you can talk intelligently about the industry that they're in. And one of the ways that you can do that is to visit Reddit. I find that to be a great source of information for me. Or get a news aggregator like Google News or Scoop that just aggregates blockchain news directly into your inbox. Easy. Step 2, get yourself out there and build a profile. Now, a lot of people swear by Upwork to build a profile, but it's not for me, but I'm just going to put it out there anyways, if this is something that you want to do. It's basically doing freelance work for people that require help, companies that require help. So that's one way. Or you could potentially start blogging. Medium.com is a great platform to start blogging and get you noticed. And it's really easy to get started. I know a lot of people think it's hard, but it's easy. Pretty much choose a blockchain topic you actually find interesting, because readers can tell whether you're excited about a topic or not. So best to always pick a topic that you find interesting and write an informative piece on the topic. Do some research, almost like a literature review, if you will. Aggregate, information, bits and pieces of information out there on that topic, and try to find interesting industry news to slip in. That will be very helpful when you write an article, to keep things interesting and current. And of course, use images and videos to break up the article a little bit. But if you're not into writing, that's okay. Do online presentations, do a podcast or a webcast. Okay, if webinars are not your thing, you're kind of camera shy, then podcasts are great. All they hear is the audio. They just hear your voice. So just do an audio recording. The worst thing that you can do is not try because you're too afraid. Just try any of these ways to build your profile, and don't be afraid to embarrass yourself. Remember, everyone is on a similar journey as you, because blockchain technology is so brand new that everyone is still on the learning journey. So yeah, go ahead and do one of these things. And finally, of course, attend networking events such as meetups. I know a lot of the face-to-face events are not happening right now because of COVID. But that's okay. All the more you can attend a lot of events that are held globally instead via online events. And there's so many that you can choose from, which leads me to joining our organization, I guess, because that's the best way to build your profile, and at the same time build your knowledge as well, because you have a strong community of people that are there to help you and also support you and help build you up. And I know I'm a bit biased by talking just about Women Who Code Blockchain, but there are many other organizations. Find one, become a member, participate, be active, and go ahead and ask questions. And don't be too afraid about asking stupid questions, because stupid questions are pretty much how I start asking stupid questions. Is pretty much how I started my journey on anything in life. And believe me, you're going to be better off for it. So yeah, highly recommend. Start volunteering, become visible to other people. Step 4 is obviously begin your job hunt. It is so important that your LinkedIn profile is updated and it's current. And I know a lot of people know this already, but you'd be surprised how many people don't actually follow through. First and foremost, please, please, please put up a professional a picture. Please don't put up a picture of yourself on LinkedIn that shows you relaxing at the beach or drinking or eating food at a restaurant. Please don't do that. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars asking a family member to help you, take a picture. Just put on some professional clothes and take a picture. As simple as that. That would just help recruiters look at your profile favorably on the onset. And of course, optimize your LinkedIn with keywords. The sooner you learn about blockchain and get an understanding of its fundamental concepts, the better, because then you're able to use all the buzzwords that recruiters are essentially looking for when they're looking for candidates. So I cannot emphasize that enough. So fill up your LinkedIn profile with keywords, optimize with keywords, update your profile picture, please, and ask for recommendations. Oops. I'm sorry, I'm skipping right ahead. Back to the slide. And ask for recommendations. If you haven't already got job experience, work experience in blockchain, that is actually okay. You should ideally be volunteering in organizations like WWCode and make yourself visible, contribute, do something, be active. People notice you, build up your network, right? And then ask your network for recommendation. So that they can write something about what you have done in blockchain. And that is going to be of great value to a recruiter, because they also want to see, apart from subject matter knowledge, they also want to see, hey, is this person enthusiastic about this technology? Is this person going to be enthusiastic about this job? And if anyone can talk about that particular aspect of you as a reference, as a recommendation on LinkedIn, even better. And of course, brush up your resume. A small little tip I'll leave you with is use Canva. Canva has so many creative designs to help you make your resume stand out. So yeah, have a look at that as an option to sort of jazz up your resume. And finally, step 5, get the job. This is something I personally believe in. The best blockchain jobs today are the ones people are creating for themselves. And as this example states, if you're a lawyer, become a crypto compliance consultant. If you're a stockbroker, become an ICO advisor. And if you work in a supermarket, become a supply chain expert. And using myself as an example, I have chosen the path of becoming a researcher, and hence why I'm working with Women Who Code Blockchain to sort of research on topics, present webinars, and one of the other things that I'm going to be doing with the community and with the track leaders is help build a podcast as well, which we are hoping to start this September. So if that's something you're interested in, you want to participate, and you want to know how you can be a part of it, reach out to any one of us and ask. We're there to help you. And just before I end the presentation, I've taken some screenshots of actual job ads from blockchain companies. One of this was an ad for customer acquisition. Now, if you look at it real quickly, you will see there's no mention of technical knowledge, right? It's all about your communication skills and your sales skills. So if you can sort of build yourself up via this way and try to get a foot in the door, you're still better off than someone who's trying to learn programming or coding from scratch and then trying to find a job. You're better off, getting a foot in the door, and then, on the side, if you want to acquire technical skills, you learn, but you're already, working for a blockchain company, for instance. And this one is quite interesting, was another ad at a blockchain company. This is for a community operations specialist. And as you can see, they're looking for someone who's a great communicator and who can get things organized, and who's entrepreneurial, right? These are characteristics that will get you a job within a blockchain company. Another one is marketing. This one requires someone with 8 or so years of marketing experience. So someone with slightly more experience in that industry. But if you haven't worked in blockchain and you have 8 or 10 years experience in marketing or sales, this could be a job opportunity for you to get a foot in the door without going for an entry-level position. So you're still quite senior, but then you're still quite entry-level where blockchain technology is concerned, if that makes sense. And I will stop my presentation right there. I might be going a little bit over time, I suspect. So these are some of the ways you can keep in touch with me after this presentation. If you've got any questions, please feel to reach out to me. And with that, I'm going to stop the screen share and open up for anyone who might have questions.
Thanks, Tharini. The presentation was awesome as usual. You rock. And there were two questions on the chat. One is regarding the sorry. One is regarding the input-output number that you spoke about. Can it be tracked? I'll take that question and then maybe let you add your
Sure,
thoughts on that.
sure.
And the second one is a request to explain the ceiling number again. So I'll leave that to you to take it up. So for regarding the input-output number, well, technically speaking, the input is going to be like in the context of a Bitcoin blockchain, because the transactions are fairly easy to explain in that. So in context of a Bitcoin blockchain, the input is generally the transactions that are taking place on your blockchain network, and the output, as Tani had mentioned, from the magic machine, the output that you get is a hash value. So a hash is a mathematical function that takes in some kind of input and gives you a fixed length string as an output. So the idea of blockchain is to create an ecosystem where you can use the hash to go back and confirm if a particular transaction took place or not. But the actual details of the transaction you should not be able to track. That's the idea. So when you put it in this context, and when you pose a question as to can the input output number be tracked, the output will be given to you. So that is like your bank account number kind of thing, right? Something with which you can go and verify if a particular transaction took place or not, but you cannot view the details of the particular transaction because it is encrypted. So that's the idea. So ideally, to answer your question in a crux, the input should never be tracked. You can only verify or authenticate if something happened, but the output will be given to you. So you can, use that for tracking purposes. Tarni, if you have something to add.
No, I'm pretty much on you with that. Would you like me to
Okay.
start re-explaining the ceiling concept again? Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Saira,
yeah. Sure, go ahead.
I like to break things down into a very simplistic manner just so that you get, people understand the concept. The way I look at sealing is, back in the olden days, you had those wax candle seals where you write a letter, you close the letter, and then you seal it with a wax candle and you seal it on the envelope. And if anybody so much so as tries to open the envelope, the seal breaks, right? And that's how you know that something has gone on, something funny has gone on in the letter. So think of it in that way, that use that concept, if you will, for this particular technology. So the sealing number is like that candle wax that you use to put in an envelope to seal something confidential, to prevent anyone from altering the contents of that particular transaction. So that's pretty much what that is. And it's very important because the sealing number also forms a part of what they call consensus between everyone. As I touched on during the presentation, everyone has to agree that, hey, that is in fact the right sealing number. If there's any disagreement, then it has to be looked at why that is. Was a transaction recorded wrongly or something else funny happened? So without the sealing number, it'll be very hard to sort of like do a check and balance and see if some sort of alteration or modification had happened to the original transaction. And that is very fundamental, right? you don't want any alterations to happen. You can create a different version of documents, if you will. Let's suppose it's not a financial transaction, but it's a document that contains details about the value of diamonds. You can create another version of a document and label it as a separate version, but not actually go and alter the original document. And that's what sealing number does. And people spend a lot of time and energy to so-called mine and discover what the sealing number is. And for that, they're rewarded with Bitcoins. That's pretty much how Bitcoins sort of started. I know it's very simple explanation for a very technical concept, but Saira, if you're not happy with that explanation, I'm happy to take it off the webinar and try to explain to you in detail. If you wish, feel free to contact me.
Yeah, I think Tharini, you explained it pretty well, especially if you think about like if somebody who's coming from a non-technical perspective, then how do they understand the concept, right? And Syed, like as Tharini mentioned, and as I also mentioned in the beginning, that we have a Slack group where we have posted recordings of our previous webinars as well. So wherein we did a webinar which was on a technical primer to blockchain. So there you can also maybe now I know that you can connect the dots a little bit, but probably attending that, I mean, looking at that recording as well may give you a better insight into what a hash is, because that's where I explain what is a hash, how is a hash created, and things like that. And probably when you explain when you look at the technical explanation as well as look at a real time explanation, maybe you can connect the dots better at that time. But yeah, also feel free to like message us on Slack or anywhere else to kind of get more information on that. I also see that Syed had posted he's in the humanitarian sector with cash programming. And if I transfer cash to a beneficiary with an incorrect phone number or account number, can it be corrected? The answer is if you are using cryptocurrencies, the underlying cryptographic algorithm does not support incorrect transactions. So if you are transferring to a phone number or an account number that exists in the ecosystem, and it's the wrong one, then you have lost your money. But if it is non-existent, then your transaction fails. And in most of the cryptocurrencies, you will get the transaction money back. I mean, your original money back. But again, it depends a lot, as Tani mentioned, on the underlying consensus algorithm. What are the rules that are built for that particular blockchain network, right? Some networks may have that the money will just, disappear. Some may have that you will get the money back. So based on the kind of programming that is there underlying in the network, that particular action happens. And another question that you have asked is actually very, very relevant, I think, when you think about blockchain applications, right? How do we transfer cash without KYC documents, especially in the fragile country context? I think what your question puts a lot of light on the kind of regulations that need to come in the crypto industry. But this was something that was happening in the very initial points in time when Bitcoin came about in 2009, right? There was no KYC, nothing. Anybody could just create a wallet address and be able to mine Bitcoins very easily, transfer to each other, etc. But that's not the case today. As crypto has gotten more visibility, there are so many different things that governments themselves are trying to step into and understand. Like there is central bank digital currencies that are being talked about, which are a version of money, but based on the underlying crypto algorithms, but recognized by the government and the central banks themselves, right? So things like this are picking up on the in the crypto space. And today, if you want to make an account in any of the exchanges for yourself, herein an account is synonymous to your wallet using which you transfer cryptocurrencies on a particular blockchain network, you cannot do it without KYC documents. Every known or unknown wallet for that matter requires you to clear your KYC in order to be able to start transacting on that particular blockchain. And all of these came in as a part of regulations, right? So every country is starting to recognize the importance of having these regulations in place. And yeah, they're also trying to understand how going forward digital currencies can be supported by underlying cryptographic algorithms, like how the current cryptocurrencies are working. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But again, like yeah, if you have a scenario in your mind, don't know if we let me just try to unmute you. Yeah.
Hi, this is Aftab. You can call me Aftab.
Okay.
I'm actually a global lead with a humanitarian organization on cash programming and cash and voucher systems. And we are trying to bring in technology in our sector. Uh,
Okay.
and and largely, I work globally based out of India. And let me
Mm-hmm.
give you a scenario of Central African Republic country where people are internally displaced, so they don't have any documents, or they are taking refuge, suppose in northern Cameroon, so that
Mm-hmm.
and they do not have any documents either to prove that they are citizen of CAR or Central African Republic. In those
Mm-hmm.
circumstances, we are trying to transfer cash as a humanitarian aid, uh, especially if they have KYC, like if they have a UNHCR card under the Refugee Convention law, they're eligible to receive cash. That serves as a KYC document. But
Okay.
in some locations, if they are not registered refugees, they don't have any documents. So if I want to
Okay.
help them with the humanitarian aid, how do I go with this blockchain thing? Thank you.
So one of the things, so that's again like one of the ideas that comes to my mind is to have another body that will ensure that. So basically, the idea of blockchain is to make sure that you kind of remove this third party trust mechanism, right? Like there is a third party that kind of verifies that if this person is registered, is this person authorized, etc. But again, if we completely eliminate this and start allowing anybody to come to join the network and to be able to transact on the network, the issue is a question of the moment they get permissions to join the network and be able to transact, there is also some kind of cryptographic protocol that associates, like they can easily, basically the idea is they can easily hack the network if they don't have any they don't have a registered credential or something on those lines. So one of the ideas that comes to my mind is to have an agency or an organization or like a startup or somebody come up, say that like I will take responsibility for those folks who are unregistered, right? So you regulate your money through this startup or through this organization that you have set up, right? Because you, even if you want to help these folks with the help of blockchain by being able to seamlessly transfer cryptocurrency and things like that, you still need to make sure that it is going to the right folks. Because being able to tamper with digital currency or cryptocurrencies is fairly easy if you do not attach any regulations or rules to it. So if in a case where these folks do not have an identity document, like you mentioned the card or something, then you make sure that at least there is a party which is able to, regulate this money that you're sending, so that it goes to the right kind of, to the required people or to the folks who need it. So this is one of the ideas that comes to my mind. But yeah, I guess
I
Tarini also.
guess, yeah, well, I guess it is sort of a similar situation to how they're trying to track fair trade coffee beans, for instance. It's very hard to track which farm it's coming from, and because all, they're all collected from various farms, and then they're sort of like sent to a particular distribution location, and tracking happens from that point on, from the distribution location, but not prior to that. So that is sort of a criticism and a small complexity where blockchain is concerned, right? But that is not the problem with the technology in itself. It's about how it's implemented. And like
Right.
what Jan said, it's all about having a unique identifier. Even if a particular person doesn't have proper credentials, I guess giving them a unique identifier of some sort still creates an identity. So they're not like, if you're giving them cash once, you have a record that this person with this unique identifier, regardless of where what his personal circumstances are, has received the money and he cannot again collect it. So I don't know if that is helpful, but yeah, I don't think that this technology has been fully, it's not mature enough yet. It's still in the beginning stages. And I agree with Jan. I think you still need to depend, like setting up a peak body organization is sort of considered a third party. You're still
Right.
depending a little bit on a third party. I think that is the criticism. As much as we'd like to say it eliminates the need for a third party, but I guess until the technology and the ecosystem around blockchain matures, I think you still have to have, like, during the transitionary phase, a bit of, yeah, third party involvement, such as a startup or a peak body.
Yeah. And the example that you used is perfect because actually, after Tarini mentioned this, is when I realized that I work with a lot of Nigerian folks who are crazy about cryptocurrency, but that's primarily because they want to make money using trading. But the fact is, if you see, Naira is the, I think, second or the third highest currency which is being traded for crypto actually on the crypto market. It's because, like you mentioned, right, there's so much unrest in that, in the politically as well, in these countries, that they are looking for a way to not be dependent on the central bodies anymore, and they want to be financially independent. So the example that you brought in is actually very, very relevant, because I remember how these guys are clearing their KYC documents. They actually just are doing it with their phone number. That's it. They don't have any other, so their wallets are only linked to their phone number, and they are still trading, they are making money and things like that. So I think what Tani mentioned is a very, very valid point, that they just need a unique identity number, or a unique identifier associated with them, which automatically gets created on the blockchain network once they create their own wallet. And sometimes the KYC regulations could go as less as just being able to connect your phone number. But then there is something again, right? Like, you need something. Now if you say that they don't have phones, then again that is something that we need to think about. Okay, how do we tackle that? But there are ways to tackle, like, all of these. And even, in fact, countries, developing countries where political unrest is the highest, are the ones which are truly investing in crypto, because they believe that that's one of the ways to keep their money safe. They don't want to keep the money as naira in their banks. They want to keep
Yeah,
it in their wallets as cryptocurrencies, right? Yes, it
yeah.
is legal. It is apparently legal in Nigeria. Yes,
They
it
don't
is
trust their
definitely legal.
governments. That's the
Yeah,
fundamental.
because I know that they are trading left and right. I work with a lot of trading groups in from Africa, so I know that it is legal. And yeah, like, one of the points that you also put up is that blockchain technology is perceived as compromising with the data privacy and safeguarding. Um, in fact, it is the other way around, because the kind of data that you share with the, it depends from I think these exchanges to exchanges as to how they deal with your data, how they store your data. But most of them are required to store your data in an encrypted format. And I mean, it's definitely, in fact, data privacy is one of the things that can be backed by blockchain. And we can, there are a lot of solutions that are being built on, like digital identity and all that. But yeah, like it is definitely safe uh, to hold cryptos, but as well as build your solutions on top of blockchain, considering you are aware of how the technology works, and you build a robust architecture, because you need to build in the security concepts in your application. Blockchain will offer some level of security, but like, it also depends on what your use case is, and what is the kind of data that you want to secure. So you will have to definitely build in security measures. Just using blockchain will not be enough. Blockchain will solve some of the issues when it comes to security, but not all. So yeah, so that's my take. Like, if I keep talking, then I may talk a lot about these subjects, so I shall refrain.
Okay, so does anyone else have any question? That was very interesting. We always, in the previous webinar, we also had someone ask, how is blockchain going to be applied to human resources, for instance? Everyone, but that just goes to show you that the application of blockchain is people are just figuring out how to actually apply, and the ecosystem is not there yet. Governments are rushing to try to develop something around regulation wise, to either facilitate or to, depends on what kind of government. Some governments just want to control or not facilitate it. So we're still at the beginning stages. So these are all great questions, and which means that it allows us to have different kind of ideas. What Jan came up with was fantastic. I can't think of a better idea. I think a peak body and startup would definitely be very helpful. But if anyone else has any questions, we are over time. But happy to accept any more questions. But looks like there isn't.
Awesome. So yeah, thanks a lot, Tharini. Thanks again for your insights, and thanks everyone for being able to join us today. I think we had a great discussion, and we should definitely all stay connected and think about how we can use blockchain to solve some real-time problems. Like Aftab, I'm sorry, mentioned that some of these are, like these are the problems that we're actually trying to tackle, right? Like these are the problems wherein technology can come in and help, especially social good, social impact related, which I'm personally passionate about as well. Like, how do you bring inclusivity in if you think about in a global scenario, right? Like everybody deserves to be paid for the kind of work they have done, or everybody deserves to be recognized or acknowledged for that matter, right? With all the things that are happening around us, I think this is a great time to think about how technologies like these can help solve some potential problems which exist in the human ecosystem. So yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks, Tharini. I
Thank
think
you so
you've
much.
brought up, you've given way to all these interesting
Look forward to
discussions.
keeping in
So,
touch with everyone and seeing everyone for all our future webinars hosted by all our amazing other track leaders. And keep an eye out for our podcast that's coming up in September as well. We'll make an informal announcement. But that's it from me and from all of us, I guess. Thank
yeah.
you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And yeah, have a great day, good night from wherever
Yeah.
you're joining us.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.